All right. Okay. And
hello.
Hey.
Hey. Hello. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm Ian Nee Lewis. This is Dan Galpin. Joining us so far is Eric Carl and his buddy Dan. They're authors of Bouncy Mouse. And welcome to our first Friday review, which is our very first time doing this, and I can just tell you right now we're woefully underprepared and it's going to suck. But we're going to have fun anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Stay on, just,
exactly.
Because we will never suck this much ever again. So.
It's going to be a learning experience.
Exactly.
Learn from our mistakes here at Android.
Exactly.
So the idea here is that we spend a lot of time looking at apps and games at Android. It's one of the funnest part of the jobs, actually. So what we want to do is kind of share that with you guys in the public, and hopefully through showing off some great apps and also maybe some not so great apps and looking at how they can be better, we can also help the entire community to understand what makes an app great and what sorts of improvements are easy to make so that your game or your app has a better chance of being featured.
That's pretty much it. I'm going to be helping out. I'm also Ian's production assistant here, along with the team. So I'm going to be trying to install things and make sure that we actually can be looking at things on the secondary camera. As you can see, sitting in front of us, we have an incredibly high-tech, not camera that we're going to be using to show on one of the other Hangout slots. Some of the actual gameplay from the various games.
This is the setup recommended to us by Chet Haas, the Android graphics guru. He said this is the absolute best way to film an Android device.
Exactly. So there we are.
Prove him right. So we really appreciate everyone who signed in via moderator. We just put this up yesterday. There's a Google moderator page that was linked from our Google Plus page. And even though moderator is a little bit weird in the fact that it's asking you for questions, and we asked you to put apps in. I think it's worked out pretty well. So people have suggested apps, and they've upvoted ones that they like. And we're going to go ahead and take a look, focusing on games this week, and take a look at some of the top voted games. And we also invited a few ringers in, some professional developers, to take a look at their apps and have them talk a little bit about what they've done to create great apps, and also maybe to ding them a little on a few things that we think could be done better. So is that Glue Mobile joining us?
It is.
Would you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Paul Armada. I'm the senior producer on Gun Brothers, and you can introduce yourself.
I'm Rick Mendez. I'm assistant associate producer on Gun Brothers and designer.
Awesome.
Great to have you here.
Well, we're glad to be on the first sucky one of these, so there's low expectations.
Exactly. Well, the more people who aren't us on this, the less it's going to suck. So, awesome. Glad to have you guys joining us. I think we're going to go ahead and lead off with Gun Brothers, and we're going to kind of show you the process that we go through when we're looking at an application and saying, is this worth passing on to our editorial board? And you can't see them, but in the room with us are actually a couple members of the editorial board. Of course, they'll never go on camera because their identities are a secret. And also some other members of the Android developer relations community. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Gun Brothers. So we took a look at this game quite a while ago. We loved it. It's got a new feature, which is multiplayer, which means it's about time to look at it again and potentially talk about whether we should ask people to promote it or feature it in market, or should we be talking about it internally. And usually what we do at this point is just pick up the game and start playing a little bit, and we have a little procedure that we go through.
Yeah, exactly. So let me, just to give you a little history on Gun Brothers. Gun Brothers came to Android Market, and it had this great idea where you had a second brother that you got to play along with that followed you around and shot things as you fought. And so the first thing everyone's like, well, can't that be one of my friends? And so in the middle of, in the middle of last year, they actually released an update that allowed it to sort of virtually be one of your friends. Someone could actually join you with their character, but you still were controlling both characters. And then finally, just this week, we now have the full-blown multiplayer version where two people can play together, and it's kind of what we always wanted when we first saw the game. So we're really excited about that. So to kind of show you what our procedure is like.
Actually, since we've got Rick and company here, why don't you guys do you guys have a little bit to say about the game as well? Or
Well, I don't know. He did a pretty good job summarizing it. But yeah, we have the sort of offline multiplayer version that he was talking about with the Brotherhood. But what we're talking about today is synchronous co-op, which we're pretty excited to have working on Android now on the devices. And it does make it a lot more fun. I mean, everything's more fun if you can play with a real friend. And yeah, I mean, it adds a new dimension to the game, and it's interesting because this game wasn't initially designed for multiplayer. It's something that the team put in after the initial single player release. But since we did that, we've tried to do a lot of thinking around how to make it fun and a different experience and kind of a unique experience, so it doesn't feel the same as the single player.
awesome. Sorry, I had a mic switch malfunction. Can you hear me now?
Can you guys hear us okay?
Oh yeah, you guys are great.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
No, we're the ones with the fancy equipment that doesn't work. All right, so let's sit down and actually start the process of looking at one of these apps. Now, we will need something at one moment, please. If you could just help me out there with our... They're just right in the fridge.
Ooh, that's fascinating. I already found a bug.
All right. So now we're ready to take a look at these apps. The first thing we're going to do is when we fire it up, we tend to look at the basics of Android and how it interacts with the system. So we'll go ahead and look at a...
We'll do a couple things. One is we want to make sure the volume keys are passed through. So we'll go through there, and you see, unfortunately, that the volume keys cause the textures of the tutorial to get blown out. But at least they're handled correctly. We see the volume buttons come up and the volume slider come up correctly. That's good. The game didn't pause. Some games that kind of misunderstood the Android spec for when to pause actually decided to pause their game when their window is no longer active. So we occasionally get that. That's pretty rare these days, but that still occasionally happens. The next thing we'll do is we'll try hitting the back key, and we'll see what does it do. You see, we really have blown out all of the textures out. It's kind of awesome to watch the game totally not display the right thing here in our Hangout. But you see, the good news is that the back key did something. Oftentimes what a game will do is toggle between two different modes. The main thing is we don't want to lose gameplay because when someone hits the back key, we want to make sure the user has the ability to quit. So a really common thing to do is to display a menu when that happens. And the back key is something that is part of if you look at the actual Android CDD, the compatibility device document that actually goes out to all of the OEMs, one of the things I talk about is the Android navigation paradigm. And the back key is really important. Users expect it to do something. Users expect that when they hit that, they at least have the ability to quit the title. And it's different. Pressing the home key, on the other hand, should actually take the always will take the user immediately back to the desktop, and that backgrounds whatever they've been doing. In the case of a game, we really hope the game goes away for the most part. It shouldn't continue to play audio. Certainly, it shouldn't continue to have its main thread or loop going. It shouldn't be doing any unnecessary networking. And then we can either do one of two things. We can either then go straight back to it using this, and we expect to go right back into the game, which it did, which is great. And you see the music started playing. The other thing we'll do is we'll actually we'll lock the device. And if everything works correctly,
that's cool. The device turns into a mirror. I was like, what view is that?
Yeah, exactly. That's our ceiling here at Google. That's exciting. It does totally look like it looks like we have some sort of shooter there. That's awesome.
So in this case, we locked the device, and the music is still playing.
But that's because the device has just decided to die.
Yeah, because
Because we're running some random version of Android on this
We
device.
actually don't know what build is on this device.
Yeah.
Don't like take this to heart if you see a bug.
Yeah, this, to be honest, we grabbed this device because it didn't have an account that had 5 million apps on it,
Right.
and not for any other particular reason.
But Rick, I will say this, actually, just FYI, the reason that we're on this device is because we couldn't get it to work on Ice Cream Sandwich.
Yeah, both of our ice cream sandwich devices, both of our ice cream sandwich devices that we had running, unfortunately, we got it to run it occasionally. It would sort of randomly start up, but basically we know that we definitely want to see that. When we test, we always test on at least one ice cream sandwich device, if not 2 or 3 of them, because obviously a lot of us are walking around here at Google with Galaxy Nexus devices, as well as with Zoom tablets that are running ICS. So the combination of both things means that if something doesn't work on ICS, it's very likely that our featuring team will even be able to test it to make sure that we're going to be able to feature it, because they don't even have a lot of non-ICS devices. But plus, we also don't want to obviously feature something that people who have the latest version of Android can't use.
Right.
So that's one note.
By the way, I mean this is a game that's run very well for a long time on all
ICS.
devices.
Yeah, so we were surprised.
It's also an old engine, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and obviously we're always doing our best to test it on everything as soon as it comes out and as soon as we can get our hands on it.
Yep.
And I mean, we've got it running on ice cream sandwich devices or OSs here. So.
Yeah, I think to be fair, this is a Zoom running ice cream sandwich. I don't even know if that's on stream.
No, we have a Transformer Prime running ice cream sandwich.
Oh, right. Sorry, yeah, it was a Transformer Prime running ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
We were actually going to do
You
all
guys
of
have one of those?
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but hey, definitely send us the device you've got. I mean, send us the info for the device you got, and we'll check it out and see what the deal is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that I say that, this device has decided
Right.
decided to do the same thing. So
anyway, yeah, like you can see that what we're doing before we do anything else is trying to see how it reacts with the Android system. And the most common mistakes that people make are they don't start and stop the music at the right time, or they make it really easy to lose progress when you're playing the game. So you saw what Gun Brothers did was perfect. We go out of the game using the home key, go back in, and you're right there back in the action. You haven't lost any progress. Nobody's killed you while you were away. You're not being dumped into some new situation that you weren't expecting. All of those things are really super important because, if you think about it, mobile gaming isn't like console gaming. People are going to get phone calls. They're going to have to turn their device off because, I don't know, they got to look at the road, whatever. People have to stop their games for all sorts of reasons. And when you go back, you don't want to lose anything. If possible, it should feel like the game just paused in the background and now you're coming back. It's not always possible because sometimes the user will go out of your game, do a bunch of other stuff, and you come back and all your textures have disappeared because it had to reclaim the context. Or you ran out of memory, or your process got killed. But to the very best of your ability, you should be saving off everything that's going on in the game so that if you happen to get killed, your process, not your in-game guy, if your process gets killed, you should be able to resurrect it and go from where you left off. And I know Rick, we actually worked with you quite a bit over the years on Gun Brothers. Can you share any other little interesting Android issues that came up for you?
Well, so if you guys, I should run and grab one of our Android guys, one of our Android-specific guys, because Rick and I are mainly on the production side.
Okay.
And we could grab somebody who could answer some tech questions.
That'd be great.
Let me just go grab somebody real quick.
Yeah, well,
you
I was doing that though.
These guys came on board on really short notice, so super happy to have you guys here, and thanks a lot for.
And while he's doing that too, I definitely wanted to say we try to focus on user experience as much as possible from the development side. Everything that we do is basically how is this going to feel to someone who just has a couple of minutes to pick up a phone. As you said, this isn't console, so we want to make sure they pick it up, they have a good experience, and they can put it right back down. That's something we always strive for across all devices. Yep. And actually, this is Sora. He's on our Android engineering side.
Hey man, good to see you again.
Hey, so I just wanted to jump in and just point out that we tested it already on Transformers Prime, which we got a couple of days ago, and it works. And we have actually a Zoom right here too with the ice cream sandwich on which it works too. So I'm not.
Yeah, no, we actually saw that. It's funny because we just saw the same exact problem. It's a problem somehow in the boot. It actually looks like there's something that's just locking up, and I was trying to actually put a diagnostic on it so I could see what was going on. But it just took an incredible long time before it decided to display the Facebook login, and it's possible it's because we actually haven't logged in with that. That's actually it's causing the problem.
Okay.
But that's again it's probably some edge case, but it doesn't seem to be ice cream sandwich related. We thought it was originally because it came up immediately on Honeycomb, and then it turns out that the second time I tried to play it on this guy, it didn't come up. So it's very possible there's just probably some state it gets in the boot sequence.
I'm going to let Paul come back. I'm going to be in the background.
So the question we actually wanted to ask while you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that was just sort of a side note when we were trying to go through the game. So the question we wanted to ask is, do you have any anecdotes, interesting anecdotes about developing on Android, things that were surprising, things that were good, things that were bad, kind of to talk to our community about?
I think most importantly with ice cream sandwich and in general, you got to be really careful with the tablet stuff because you have those buttons in the bottom, and generally when we account for the textures and the textures getting reloaded when you do the regular interrupts like the home key and power key, the volume and those buttons in the bottom seem not behave identically for some reason, like when you're trying to do that texture reloading, like the power key and the home key does. So you do have to carefully test for that, and as you probably noticed, there was still some bug which slipped in with that key where the textures got, it were incorrect when it came back from volume, or like it even happens sometimes, I think, with the notification bar in the bottom, and you try to bring it up. So also with ice cream sandwich now we have that, where you can see all your all your recent apps. So you have to be careful with that too if you bring that up on top. So that's something we learned that is different from your regular interrupt.
Yeah, I think one of the main things about Honeycomb was great for users, but it made life a little more difficult for game developers, was that so much of the user interface moved over to be accelerated by OpenGL, which means that it's consuming GL context and it's consuming GL memory.
Yeah, I think the memory is really the key thing here. Is that we see that texture memory is actually being used for pieces of the UI that are always on screen. The other thing I think the big difference is that, as it was pointed out, is that there are pieces of the UI that are always on screen, and that's also a big change. There is no such thing on these devices as being completely full screen on these tablets. So.
And one of the things that I got the new tablet, the Transformers Prime, it actually plays the game really well. I think that tablet is pretty powerful.
I know, my wife gave me one of those for Christmas. I haven't been able to put it down. It's such a great device. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and go to the...
Paul to come back.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go to the moderator now. We're going to take a look at some of the games that were submitted on Google Moderator from our Google Plus page. And just kind of take a look and see what we think. And you guys from Glue and Bouncy Mouse, you guys could go ahead and chime in if you have something to say. And then after taking a look at a couple of these, I think we're going to switch over and take a look at Bouncy Mouse. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So what's our next one? I think
we can switch over to our Transformer Prime now.
Yeah. This is our. These things are hard to get a hold of now. They're back ordered. Okay, so I think
almost no one here has them, so this is a coveted unit.
Yeah, the one that was at the top. Can we scroll up to the top of the moderator and see?
Things moved around. So.
Oh boy. Okay. So what's the first one?
So the first one that was on the top was Save the Egg. That was on there. So let's take a look at Save the Egg.
Right,
I think things have been moving around if people have been voting. It's great. Continue to vote. We'll try to go through the list in some sort of order as well. So so let's go through the same thing on Save the Egg that we would go through. I'm actually going to turn up audio. I don't know if it's playing audio, so let's find out. Okay, we have the audio up. All right, so let's do like all the basic things. What does the game do? All right, well, let's first of all, one thing you'll note is this game actually, unlike Gun Brothers, is actually not showing the menu key, which means that it's targeting honeycomb or higher, which is great. If you're not going to use activities, that's what you'll see happen. So the goal is if you're not going to use a whole bunch of activities, but you're going to make your app look like it contains an activity stack, you want to make sure that your application behaves consistently with the Android navigation paradigm. So this is great. It does. Let's go into the game itself. Now, this is actually a game that is not completely real time. You actually set up the game using these little blocks here. So in this case, I can put that one there. I don't even know what these all do. But
it's like a wastebasket.
Oh, that's the way I think I can throw stuff away. So let's see if I put this here.
What is saving it, the egg and ball?
Keeping it from getting cracked.
Okay, all right.
So the goal is
So
to
now
keep
we're
the egg
gonna-
from getting cracked. So these things should tilt. Let's see what happens now if I hit play and run. So the egg rolls there. Got a little cracked,
Right.
bounced off of that, and it got cracked, but it's saved. Congratulations. I only got 2
Really?
eggs.
That's all you just need to make sure that it doesn't crack. It doesn't.
It
you
does,
don't get it
that's
anywhere?
the
Okay.
game. It's a puzzle game. Obviously, it was level
Okay.
1.
Sure.
We'll continue this.
Nice.
I really like the don't show tips. I mean, the UI is great. Let's go back.
Although I always wonder, if you say don't show tips, then how do you get them back?
So here's something that we would definitely note. You hit the back key here, and it doesn't do anything.
Nothing.
And in fact, you should always do something. That's the key thing. Is that even when you're even if all it does is say, do you want to quit? Or would you like to return to the main menu? That's better than not doing anything. Not doing anything means the Android user has to press the home key or hit this on-screen prompt in order to get out of the game. And that's what we really want them to avoid having to do is jump into another navigation paradigm.
And if you've ever switched from an Android to another device that doesn't have a back button, that's the first thing you missed because your thumb's just conditioned to say, okay, I don't want to be here. Boom, hit that back key.
Exactly. So.
Oh, I see. The pink planks are rubber.
The pink planks are the rubber planks. Yeah, I'm kind of curious, actually.
Okay.
What happens if we...
Well, oh, wow. All right. So that's nice and smooth.
Yeah. So there. And I'll put that one there. That should...
It doesn't let me.
Yeah, it's not clear exactly where you can and
Okay,
can't
so
place
that's something
planks.
I would probably do is give a little bit more feedback.
Mm-hmm.
The flash is red when you can't.
Oh, it does? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It was definitely a little bit unclear.
Yeah, I wasn't seeing that.
But I guess, do we get extra for putting it in the nest? Maybe that's the idea of that level.
Maybe, yeah, it looks like it is. Okay.
Uh,
All right. Well, we don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but it looks like a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
I mean, the graphics.
Doink, I'm
So,
going to die.
the
Might as well
only-
do the death.
The only objection I have to the graphics, honestly, is that it's sort of this weird mix. It's kind of hard to see, I think, on the Hangout, but it's sort of this mix of bitmap graphics and vector graphics, which can be a little bit jarring. Like they're two completely rational art styles. They both look great, but when you put them together, either the bitmaps look hyper-real or the vector graphics look a little fake.
Yeah, it kind of looks like you're watching you're playing a mosaic, kind of like of that someone's done in art school.
Yeah, like in Harold and Kumar, where they go into that drug dream. It's very similar to that.
You haven't drunk enough yet.
Apparently
Yeah.
not. We've got the chronic right
That's
there.
true. That's true. So. Anyways, that's great. That's cool. But I think that's pretty much all we'd say about that. We should probably go on to the next thing. Let's look and see.
I don't think we hate this game. I think
No.
it's pretty cool. I think basically, and by the way, if you can get a hold of us through the Plus page. We're more than willing to share this information in writing if we say something about your app on the air. And if you want to try and fix some of the things we talk about, make it nicer, we'd love to work with you on that. We can't promise anything, but what we're talking about are the sorts of things that the editorial board would consider when talking about featuring a game. So these are the sorts of things that you need to know in order for your game to be even considered to be featured.
All right, so this is a game that was on here earlier, and the moderator earlier. It's now fallen a little bit down, but I wanted to try it out just because I'm really curious as to how it'll do on this device. So this is a game called Metal Rain.
Metal Rain.
And it's in alpha.
Rain.
So and you guys can't read any of this because it's not only is it's blurry. Gotta love it.
Well, it's not that blurry.
No, on the screen it's
right,
blurry.
right.
no, but on the screen, on our screen, it's fine. We can read the change log.
I would say that just right off the bat, this feels like a lot of text to give somebody. This is the sort of thing where you're probably going to lose a certain percentage of your viewership as soon as they see this. But, you know, maybe that's cool, because maybe you only want the real hardcore people to stick around. I mean, you are, after all, Metal Rain.
Yeah, actually. And this game that says it's an alpha. So let's take a look at the initial things. We're on the home screen. Same thing we would do with any title. We're gonna go and we're gonna say what happens when we press the lock button. Where is it on the lock button on this device? Is it over?
Oh, the lock button? It's right here.
Oh, it's right there.
It's just tiny.
It's just tiny. Well, that should be. So let's see. Okay, so this is an example of something that a lot of game developers do. Can you guys hear the music?
Yeah.
So basically, if you don't track whether or not your focus has gone active, your activity will actually start and will actually.
Let me do the mic up there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, you can't hear that the game is actually playing music right now on the lock screen.
Yeah, we can't hear the music.
Yeah, so this is in general obviously a bad thing.
Now?
We actually, Ian actually wrote a blog post on this, and it basically entitled "Why is there music coming from my pants?"
Right. Here's the worst part. So I thought music coming from my pants was bad, but in Ice Cream Sandwich, it turns out that there are some cases where an activity can receive a start notification even when the phone appears to be completely off. Just because it needs to receive, I don't know, something. I was talking to Diane Hackborn about it. We were trying to figure out what it was. Don't have a whole lot of info on it. But suffice it to say that I had a game like this that was really cute, and I was using it to play with my baby before she went to sleep. And about 3 hours later, when she was sleeping soundly, boom, cutesy clown music at high volume. Mm-hmm. Believe me, that is not what you want when you're in the same room as a 7-month-old.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here we are. A lot of controls. I have no idea what they are. Obviously,
right.
We just have to.
Well, like they said it's an alpha. So the one piece of feedback we'd give there is, do not at all feel like you need to use the built-in Android system controls. Well, actually, they're not really made for games.
Actually, what I was going to actually say is that those controls are nice. But what would be really, really awesome is if they actually had set the target SDK version to being 14. Because if they were Ice Cream Sandwich looking controls, they'd be way cooler.
That's true.
So that was my one comment on those.
Don't be afraid to make your game your own.
Yeah.
Because, and it might sound weird that I'm even trying to drive that point home, but the truth is we've actually had people come back to us and say, oh, I thought we were going to get in trouble if we didn't use the system dialog or something like that. No, the things you'd get in trouble for are not using the system keys, like the back key, and not properly using market billing. Those are the things that we check for UI. If you want to replace or skin something else, more power to you. So this actually looks kind of cool.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
It looks like a ballistics shooter.
It does like a ballistics shooter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
There's some nice camera work there. I like that.
Yeah, I totally missed. I ended up. This is I'm like showing the world, that I have no idea what I'm doing in this game.
Well, that's not necessarily your fault. That could be the game's fault. Okay, and is this an offable mic? Because we don't necessarily want to have it on all the time.
We can control the channel separately.
All right, great. Okay.
That's right. You can't see Trevor. Trevor's is acting as a production assistant. You see him also on Stack Overflow on a lot of stuff. So he's a man of many talents.
He's helping us suck less as time goes on.
That is right.
So I love the look of this. I mean, there's a few things like I think it's pretty obvious that down here in the landscape, you could really use either a larger texture or probably better still would be like a detail texture, just some overlay so you're not looking at these gigantic pixels, especially since the texel density on the tank there is so much higher than the texel density on the landscape.
The end of world is pretty funny. But you have to do something.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm sure you'll take care of that. So yeah, cool. We'll have our eye on this one because it's kind of cool. I mean, I love the idea of a ballistic shooter that's like really 3D and the sort of dramatic camera work. Looks like in order for people like Dan to play the game, then maybe the camera work shouldn't be quite so dramatic when you're actually setting up the shot. But this is cool. How about you guys on the Hangout? What do you think?
It does look cool. It's pretty hard to comment on it because it's the visuals we're seeing are so ridiculously blurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to work on that.
Now he's firing back at me or firing at something else. I don't know what he's firing at.
Conceptually, it was really cool.
Yeah, it's really great to see what individuals can do, and this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, is this just one guy?
I think so.
All right, good job, one guy.
So
speaking of games written by one guy, nice segue, right? Let's take a look at Bouncy Mouse. This guy. So Eric was what like one of our coworkers' roommates or something. Is that right?
Yep.
No thanks.
Yeah.
I don't like fun.
Oh yeah, we don't like fun. Actually, we're kind of hate fun.
Oh.
Okay, there we go.
There we are.
All right. Yeah, Eric, tell us your story.
Oh, what's my story is, yeah, I was, quit Microsoft because I wanted to make games, and then moved in with I got one of my high school friends in San Francisco, and he turned out to be working at Google. So after a lot of trying to make games, I finally worked out, and now that this game has had moderately good success here, I've been able to double my company size.
Awesome.
So
nice.
yeah, and Android has been a pretty cool experience for me to work on, just in terms of the market. The market has just been much more engaged than the iOS market with us. So that's been a cool experience. Like, the amount of customer feedback I receive is way larger.
Cool. So from users, they're giving you reviews.
That's
right. They do like to complain.
They like to complain, and part of it, I would say, there are definitely more complaints because there are more Android devices, but it's also good because they've definitely been a lot more engaged. Like, it's just kind of an awesome feeling when you get an email and someone's like, "Great game, I love your game. I just, showed it to my friend," or, even sometimes more disappointing one that's like, "I saw my friend playing your game and it looks awesome, but it doesn't work on my phone."
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a little disappointing, and that is something that's a unique problem, I would say, to Android as opposed to most of the other platforms. But it's honestly getting better. I would say,
Well, have you ever tested this game on a Transformer Prime?
I have not. I have a Zoom, but it's only
Well, this is
free testing.
Exactly. You're getting free testing here live in front of our studio audience.
Now, first off, so we got some music here. Honestly, it was the music that sold me on this game. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. So
it was the bounciness.
Yeah. So if we lock it, okay. Well, so can you hear that? Yeah, it comes back. This is the new version. I think there was a time when it didn't do this.
So part of the problem actually might be that originally we didn't support the really quick resume.
Okay.
And that was actually the hardest thing to get working pre-Honeycomb. Was coming back from home screen like instantly. Yeah. And so we finally got that working, I think, a version ago. And my guess, I'm
sure that's what happened actually, because I think you were in a pause state when you resumed before.
Yeah, there's almost a little state machine you have to build.
So,
but I will say, actually, I want to see if it does it on this device because it just did it on my phone earlier. Okay, on my ICS phone, which admittedly is not a street build, it did actually keep playing when I hit the home button. But,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So is it true that Julie Joe is actually the voice of Bouncy Mouse?
yeah, so it's kind of funny. So yeah, she did the voices of the Blue Mouse, and amusingly, for our next update, we're adding a pink female mouse, and I did the voices for the female mouse.
Nice.
So we're trying to keep it as confused as possible. But yeah, no, she did. So this is kind of a let's see how much work I can get from my friends and my friends' roommates type thing. So.
Nice. So there's a couple things that I want to point out already that I like. So there's a really nice montage there at the beginning. Had some nice Ken Burns effects there and stuff like that. It felt like it was more than just a series of still images, although it didn't take up nearly as much space as like a full-on full-motion video would. And I don't think this game doesn't have an additional download, does it?
This game we've been. Are you talking about the size constraints?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we've been struggling. Each version, it's like, how can we keep this? In fact, each version, the size has pretty much stayed the same or gone up a little, and we've added way more content. So it's been like playing around with how can we compress textures more.
Nice.
And do things.
If I remember right, you actually had. Oh, good job.
I know.
By the way, I love the tutorial level where it's really showing you, how to direct the mouse to begin with. I feel like, especially, I have to congratulate you. I think it's really cool that the arrows show you the fastest path, but not the one that's going to give you the most points, and kind of leave off at the end. It feels like you really do a good job of leading the user into understanding how the game is played.
Yeah, but we love the cartoony feel of it. The fact that it drove emotional engagement with the character. The character looks like it's having fun as it's flying through the levels. We thought it used so many great things in the game.
I think that was our feedback too when we saw the initial build. We're like, hey, can you add more cool animations? And you did.
Yeah, we tried. Yeah, thanks for that feedback, because actually we did some things like when you're flying really through the air for a long period of time, it goes woohoo. We added a few more little animations, and it really did. You really does make a difference. So that was
Who sells it for me, honestly.
the main thing. Yeah, our biggest experience here was just the version every version we've released, we feel like we've made the game a lot better. And it's just because of the amount of feedback we've been able to get, and it's just kind of
right. And for those of you who are watching this, remember this game has gone through our process already. In terms of things that we pointed out in other games, playing music over the lock screen, having back button support that wasn't appropriate, losing progress, things like that. I think. The initial builds of this game had almost all of those problems, but you were able to tackle them and solve them, as I recall, pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, none of it was actually a problem. It was more just realizing that we needed to do it, and part of it might be, I think now it might be better. There are some pretty good resources that kind of list these things out. But
yeah, we've been trying.
Or at least they're
writing a series of.
There are some blog posts. Yeah, the only thing that's really been a little bit funny that prevented us from doing that was actually, you might notice the menu button came back.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason it came back is because maybe they fixed it now, but the build of OpenFaint that ships...
Yes, required the menu.
Required the menu, and nothing else in the game does, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Because we couldn't...
Yeah, that was...
yeah.
I actually sent them feedback saying they needed to make an on-screen prompt for switching accounts, because otherwise, there's no way, if someone actually implements Honeycomb correctly, there's no way to switch your OpenFaint account. You're stuck with whatever one's automatically created if you say that you like fun.
Yeah.
So,
now, generally, I don't like fun, so I've avoided that problem, but...
None of us are really fans of fun.
We have one question on the comments. People are wondering if these games are built using Java or using a tool like Unity 3D.
Right. Eric, you want to?
So Bouncy Mouse, the goal here was originally, as like the first game I did, I wanted to ship to as many platforms as possible because I kind of didn't know what was going to work. So this one I tried to take the most generic approach I could, which is it's just built targeting C++ and OpenGL directly using the native layer. And so, I think for a game like Bouncy Mouse, where it's pretty simple 2D graphics, I mean, there's some geometry, there's some fancy stuff I tried to throw in, but nothing on the level of like a full 3D world with light maps like what you see in Gun Brothers. I think...
You actually took a kind of a really interesting approach with the graphics, as I recall. Didn't you write your own SVG layer?
Well, so it's not actually... What it is the levels are all done in SVG, and then they are triangulated.
Okay.
So I'm not rendering the raw curves at runtime. It all gets triangulated. And so, yeah, I mean, it runs a script and turns this into basically OpenGL buffer, like vertex buffers.
But it's all... it's tessellated triangles, though. It's not.
It is.
We're not looking at bitmaps here.
The mouse and things are bitmaps and the enemies, but all the geometry is tessellated triangles with textures. They're textured.
Okay.
And like one of the, we did some tricky things with like drawing the outline, which even though the game doesn't actually have anti-aliasing, the way we did the outline makes it look like nice anti-aliased lines, and tried to keep things looking good. But yeah, I would say for this, the actual rendering code is very tiny. That's why we kind of went with just the direct C++ OpenGL route. And that's made it kind of cool because, when we ported this to Chrome a few months back. And one of the cool things is, WebGL, OpenGL, you kind of just map the commands. And even though it's not C++, it made our lives a lot easier than if we tried, for a simple game, if you use something like one of these frameworks, even Cocos 2D or something, which I know I've seen a lot of games using, it's going to be harder to port it because there's no Cocos 2D for WebGL.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that's the approach we took, but I think it really, and I've actually received this question from a number of people, and my feedback is usually, really depends what game you're making, because Unity is going to save you a ton of work if you have to do light maps and 3D rendering and importing models and stuff like that.
Yeah. Rick, how about your team? What kind of technology stack do you guys use?
We actually use mostly in-house tools developed here at Glue. I would say it's the majority of it is that actually. For the Android side, yeah, in-house tools developed by our engineers here to get the job done. The mix of 2D and 3D that you see in Gun Brothers.
A lot of Glue projects are switching over to Unity, though. Some of the newer stuff you've seen come out recently is...
Sure, Blood and Glory, Frontline Commando.
Right, exactly.
Nice. Yep. Cool, yeah, and you guys were writing in C++ as well, or did you do much in Java?
C++.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Any other questions from the... All right. So I think we have time to maybe look at just a couple more apps, and then we're going to call it a day for now.
All right. So another one that came up was WordWash, and this one here, everyone's going to have to look. Unfortunately, that we don't actually have the ability to cast a properly screencast a portrait game, but
whoa, that is actually really, really blurry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, really blurry. I think we might be able to fix that a little bit.
Yeah,
I've been trying to download it. If it's live, I was just downloading it here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully everyone is doing that.
Absolutely.
Oh, there we go. Well, at least I can see the letters.
Yeah.
WordWash. Okay, so, all right, so, awesome. Okay, we got some info there. Again, don't feel like you need to use the Android system dialogues for this sort of thing.
But if they save you time, and it's certainly we don't argue against it. One thing it'd be awesome to see. This game looks great on tablets. It would be awesome to see if this game actually was set to use API level for target SDK level 14, because it would take the Hollow theme automatically, which would be cool. It also would make that menu key, which isn't used here at least, go away. It might be used in the main menu, but
right. And actually, down at the bottom here,
yeah,
you can see not only not only is the menu key visible and inactive, but there's also this little
compatibility.
Yeah, it's a compatibility button. So it's going to actually put your screen into compatibility mode, which is for this game because it actually looks great at this resolution on this device. And if I were to press this button, it would actually just get all blurry.
So
kind of like it looks on that screen, but with less movement.
yes.
Let's do endless scrub. Tap to start. Make a word that matches the length of the characters. Complete words quickly to get bonus points. Okay. So it looks like top right. So I'm gonna make a 2-letter word. No. All right. 3-letter word. Oh, this is funny.
Cool. It's like a little
yeah.
Voronoi diagram. Oh, it keeps going too. It's all
Yeah, and then I guess they don't have to be in order.
Wait. Oh, you can just like
yeah, exactly.
like.
Oh, and now you have to do.
No, they do have to be in order if you want them to be a word.
Yeah, no. I mean, they don't have to be next to each other. Now it's going to be.
It's
going
right.
to be L.
This kind of reminds me of a couple of games we've looked at recently.
So one thing you can see here is that this particular screen size, you can see that there's a little bit of texture. What is that when you have the line at the end of these where you're seeing that?
Oh yeah, you got a little bit of a mapping problem here.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like you might be drawing tiles here,
mm-hmm.
And the tiles are just like off by one on one of the edges. And yeah, you want to have a little bit of overlap because it is actually possible to have different definitions for where the pixel and pixel centers line up.
And also just when you go down lower, like when you start zooming out or in or going to weird zoom levels, I think mainly out, everything scales down. So even if you left a 2-pixel border, if you scale that down a bunch.
Yeah, now that's a 1-pixel border and then it's a 0.5-pixel border, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, so this game obviously doesn't have music, so that makes things a little bit easier. Let's see what the back button does. That's awesome. Brings up a menu. Hitting the back button again. Exits. That's one option. Just whether it exits or whether it dismisses the menu. I think the general consensus, Nate, now is that dismissing the menu is probably better because the menu feels kind of like a dialogue. It feels kind of modal, and the back button would usually dismiss a dialogue.
Right.
But exiting is fine. I think at this point it's sort of a whatever you think is better for your user.
Yeah, like we tend to sort of bias towards the back button acting like an escape key on a PC or like let's say the B button on an Xbox controller.
Mm-hmm.
So it would dismiss whatever's on the screen and not necessarily just moving you forward and back through an entire stack. But I think that's open to interpretation. The important thing is that it does something logical and that it's going to allow your user to get back to where they were without losing any progress.
Yeah. So an example here, if I go to options, the expectation here is I hit the back key that I will then go back to the main menu.
Right. And what happens? So how do I get back into the game where I was?
I think I was in endless mode. Oops. So I was in endless mode.
So it looks like you started over. So
I hit the back key twice.
Okay.
So that was
all right. So let's see. Okay, never show that again. All right, so if I'm doing my words here, okay, so I have a score. I'm going to hit back. All right, now I have the ability to start game. It looks like there's still, so I'm a little uncomfortable because it looks like it's still bubbling up here. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
The game feels like it's continuing.
Now, if I say start game, is that going to put me back to where I was?
Yeah,
No.
So
I feel like by hitting the back key, I lost progress, and I don't know how to get back to where I was.
Yeah, there's no indication that you can actually get back to the game. So this actually looks like it took me to the main menu, kind of. So this we consider a bad interaction. We'd want, before we even send it to the review committee, we'd want someone to take a look at that and say, hey, let's make sure that hitting the back key accidentally doesn't cause them to lose progress.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
yeah, if there were just a resume button on that menu, I think that would be fine.
Exactly. Now I know we'll check the home key as well. Do we end up in the same place? So if I say TINW.
Shoot, I don't think that was TIN.
It's TIN.
All right.
And then 'cause the N's to the left there.
Oh, I see.
That's how I know it was TIN. So now I go to word wash back here, and what I hopefully am is back in the same place. I am back in the same place. That's
Yeah,
great.
that worked out well.
That's a great interaction. So those are the kinds of things we look at. If the menu key doesn't do anything, we should go away. Definitely should be targeting SDK level 14, so that so you can get rid of it on these tablet devices. So
I think, by the way, that we should probably mention. I think there's some people get confused. I know I did when I first encountered this between the target API level and the like minimum and maximum SDK. If you say that you target API 14, that's kind of like saying you're aware of API 14. It doesn't mean that you can only run on devices that support that.
Yeah.
You'll work fine on whatever your minimum SDK is.
As long as you don't call APIs that are in the new version, or if you call them very carefully, using reflection or using one of the other methods that, for class loading, various other things that allow you to do that. Everything will work correctly. And Android is forward and backwards compatible, so you can use SDK4 to build things for Android 1.6 as long as you're careful.
And remember that Dalvik is a dynamic linker, so even if you try to call it, even if you just wrap your calls, you have to be kind of careful about it. There's a good article on the on developer.android.com about being forward and backwards compatible, but it's really not all that hard to do.
Yeah, Ray, so what was this question I had? When did we make the change to the dynamic linker that allows that because at some point to the loader, it used to be that we checked all that stuff on load, and there was a version of Android in which we switched from checking on load to checking on use, for being able to call functions and stuff like that were in a class.
Well, actually, so here's what I don't know this so far, but I do know there is a load time check.
Yeah, there is.
But it's not transitive.
But there's two. There's one with an earlier version of Android, it caused a failure to load the class. With newer versions, it just causes a warning. And so I just don't remember when we made the change.
I'm not sure. I feel like it was relatively recent, somewhere around a 2 point something.
Yeah, I think it was an Android 2, but I just don't remember if it was 2.1 or 2.2 or 2. I think it was 2.2, but
I want to say 2.2, but
yeah, it sounds like it right in my head, but I can't remember. But anyways, that's the only thing to note is if you do want to target below 2.2, and you do want to use those functions, you want to make sure you're testing earlier versions of Android if you really want to target them.
But if you're targeting 2.2 and all of your code works on 2.2, you still want to set target API equals 14.
Yeah, exactly.
And when we get API 15 out, you want to target 15. You want to keep going with basically whatever's latest in general.
Yeah. Exactly. It'll be really nice too. I mean, again, what would be really awesome in this game is if you go to if you go to options, these options will they'll take all of the look and feel of the latest version of Android, which is kind of cool.
And believe me, you want that because orange is so last year. You do not want orange and black. Listen, I think we're out of time. But thanks so much to Glue Mobile and Eric's company that I totally just forgot. Monkey Fun?
Monkey Do Games.
Monkey Do. There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say.
They don't like fun, didn't you?
Right. And that's actually a completely different game company, so I apologize, Eric. Monkey Do.
Thanks so much for coming on. And if you guys want to come on, maybe you want to come on the show, we're going to have the monitor open again. We're going to do it again, and it'll suck less, we promise. As we get forward, we'll hopefully have a better way of screencasting the device, which is something we're going to work on.
That's high priority now. We understand the limitations now. Please do vote on the moderator. Probably what we'll do is sort of take whatever's at the top of the list next Thursday, make that the list for Friday, so that it doesn't change up too much, because we do want to have these installed by the time we come on air.
I think what we'll do is open the moderator page tomorrow when we post the YouTube video of today's session, so it gives everyone plenty of time to check out the games and vote for the ones they want to have reviewed.
Awesome.
All right.
And we'll try and make sure next time you don't have to yell at us about the back button so much.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the reason that we wanted you to come on, is so we could have some back buttons.
Yeah.
That's fair.
No, thank you so much. It was really great to have you. You guys both have awesome games, and for everybody that's on the air, if you haven't downloaded them, try them out. They're really great.
Yeah. Bouncy Mouse is super fun, and Gun Brothers is just
It's just he can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, I would say, especially with multiplayer, it's really, really awesome to have. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, we're very excited about multiplayer.
Awesome.
Check it out.
All right, take care, you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Good, thanks.